Hi, I'm Braden Anderson. I'm on the Midwest Marauders team, and this is the circuitry and design for the Mower robot. Taking a look at our components here, we got our Arduino, distance sensor, two DC motors to control the left and the right wheels, a servo to control the blade cutting height, and then a remote which would simulate an app that the customer might have to control that servo. Getting into the code, we've got our library imports for the remote and the servo. We've named our servo Blade. And then we've got our setup for the remote receiver, distance sensor, the DC motor pins, and then just some integer callouts for down in the loop portion of the code. In our setup, we've got the serial monitor beginning, the remote receiver turning on servo, and then our pin callouts for the distance sensor and the motor pins. In our loop section, the only thing that's in here is a program to run different custom voids down below based on whether the serial monitor receives an on call out or an off call out, which is just simulate a start or a stop being received from either the observer robot or from a customer input. If the command it receives is on, then it will begin the start mower void, which if we look down here, that'll turn on the remote controlling the servo. It'll start the pulse in and out on the distance sensor, and then it will start the loop functions here so that the robot can alternate between turning left and turning right as it goes back and forth across the yard. So initially it'll do a turn left loop, which if we go down here to turn left, if there's more than 3 inches in front of the robot, it's going to move forward at a normal speed. Once it gets to within 3 inches of an obstacle at the end of the yard, it'll stop, make a left turn, drive forward for just a little bit, and then it'll make another left turn so that it begins cutting directly parallel to the run that it just made. At which point it'll go to loop counter 2, which is turn right loop, or void, I should say. If it's in the turn right void, it's the exact same as the turn left one, just making right turns at the end of the run rather than left. If at any point it receives an off command, or if it just comes to the end of its cut, it'll start the stop mower void, which if we come down here, stop mower, it essentially just turns off the distance sensor and the motors. Here's a quick scroll through if anybody needs to take a look at that. And then we'll go ahead and pull up the serial monitor here, start the simulation. Right off the bat, it's telling us to enter a command of on or off. We'll go ahead and turn it on. It'll go ahead and turn on the distance sensor, get those motors moving forward. As it's going across the yard, once it gets to within 3 inches, it'll stop, make a left turn, drive forward for a second, make another left turn, and then begin going straight again. Then once it gets to the end of the yard again, it'll do that exact same thing, just with right turns this time rather than left. The servo starts the blade off at a 3-inch cutting height right in the middle. We can change that to a 4-inch, 3.5, 3, 2.5, and 2-inch cutting height. And then if at any point it receives the off command, it'll stop that distance sensor and it'll turn our motors off there. So that is everything for the circuitry on the mower. Thank you so much.